I did it. I ran a marathon. Here we are. Here's my medal. Somebody sent me a quote the other day. Forgive me for looking over there. I've made some notes so that I don't forget the main things that I wanted to talk to you about on the feedback from my marathon experience. But there's a quote by a lady called Susan Sidoriak. I don't know the name. Maybe she's a famous runner. I'll have to look it up later. And she said, "I dare you to train for a marathon and not have it change your life." It's true. Absolutely true. But in ways I hadn't expected. What do I feel like? I've been getting lots of messages from people because I did put it out there on social media that I was doing this marathon. And look at my shirt, I'm so scruffy. And everyone's kind of messaging me now saying, "Hey, are you still on a high? Are you?" Well, no. It was a kind of anticlimax in a way, which I'll explain later is a good thing, I guess. The main thing I think about that is that I did so much prep for it and so much thinking about it that when it actually happened, it really wasn't that hard. Despite my concerns, I think 6 weeks out, James and I both got COVID, so we missed a whole week of training, and I was right up until the last minute planning to sort of bail and just do the half marathon. And I think if I hadn't put it out on social media, I probably would have done that. And especially the week before, we'd done a the week before we'd done a training run, and I think I got to about 7 kilometers and I thought, I'm done. I couldn't do any more. It was awful. And that was literally, 10 days before the marathon. I was thinking I can't even run 7 kilometers. But anyway, that was irrelevant in the end. When I was doing all the training, in my head, I had all these sort of little things that I would do as a result of achieving running the marathon. We were going to be in Sydney. I was going to go to the Lululemon shop. I like Lululemon, and get myself a whole new running outfit. And I was going to get a little tattoo. I've never had a tattoo, but kind of thought I could justify getting one for running a marathon. And I even messaged Bondi Ink to get a tattoo, and I kind of thought maybe one of those passport stamps with Sydney on it, and then my time and date and stuff like that, like the old-fashioned. And James was going to get one too, but in the end we haven't. Of course I was going to wear my medal for a month. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but yeah. But in the end, I haven't actually done any of those things. Still, it kept me going through the training. So the prep was, hard. We've been training for maybe a year and a half. James had got some online trainer who was sort of giving him some pointers. I was mostly using Nike Run Club, and early on I had a lady online, but it kind of didn't work out. So I was just kind of winging it really, and I definitely would do things a bit differently this time. But it was, the whole event was incredible. It was in Sydney to start with. The day before we flew down, and the day before we went to get our bibs, and that in itself was pretty cool, isn't it? Near the Queen Victoria building, in the centre of Sydney, and loads of competitors there sorting out their bag drops, sorting out their bibs, looking at the route. Everyone was kind of, the energy was good. It was exciting, and everyone was nervous and everything else. I think the day before we wandered around Sydney way too much. I think we probably walked about 14 or 15 kilometres. Didn't do any running. Hadn't done any running for a few days before the event. But we did do an awful lot of walking. I think that was probably a good thing, actually, just to keep us supple, because God, we seize up so quickly. So on the day of the race, we were really lucky in the Airbnb that we got in, which was about 15-minute walk from the starting place, which was at the base of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So we got up about 5. I had a protein bar. I normally run fasted, and they say you shouldn't change things for race day, but of course I did. So I had a protein bar, which I think was probably a good thing, and an electrolyte drink and lots of salt tablets, because I have had a habit in the past of fainting, which after the run, which I think is probably due to a combination of things, but including low salt. So I was having lots of electrolytes. And we wandered up to the start line, and there were so many people, queues for the Portaloos, and queues for the start of the half marathon, which was an hour before our start. There was a sort of traditional smoking ceremony that just before the run. Although I didn't get to see a lot of that, my friends who were watching the run managed to take some really cool photos of that. And then I was in, sorry about that beeping, it'll go off in a minute. I was in B group. There were A, B and C groups. So the elites started obviously right at the start in A, and then people who predicted they'd finish between 4 hours and 4:44 in B, 4:45, and then everyone else was in C. Well, optimistically, a year ago, I predicted I'd finish at 4:45. So I was in the B group. James was a bit worried that I might get trampled, because I knew that I'd never achieve sub 5 on this run, given the training I'd done over the last few weeks and the times I'd achieved. But anyway, that was cool. As we set off, right at the beginning towards the bridge, I had just a massive panic attack. I could just feel my heart go so fast, and I was just, my head, I lost it for a little bit. I was convinced that I wouldn't get to the 2nd kilometre, never mind the 42nd kilometre. But I think that settled as we ran across the bridge. The weird thing about all of this is, you're running for a long time, and I don't remember an awful lot of the race. I remember points, but not very much. I do remember a little bit about running across the bridge, but not as much as I thought I'd remember. I'll have to go and do it again now to get that experience. Having our friends there to take photos and cheer us on was just, it made it. And that was Graham and Len, and they made an absolutely gigantic effort to get to Sydney to see us, and that just made everything. So I was back to the race. I'd worked out that the water station started, I think, at 5k, and then every 2.5 kilometres after that there was either a water station or a Gatorade station, whatever. So I planned to drink at every single one, because I wasn't carrying any water. I was carrying protein bars and gels, and actually a whole snack, a whole sort of, well, probably kilos worth of snacks that I probably didn't need. But I had made in my head that I'd stop at each drink station and just walk while I had a drink of water, and I think that worked out really well for me. So I ended up just focusing on the next 2.5 Ks, and it made it really easy. By the time I got to the halfway mark, half marathon mark, I was running at about 2:30, which I was really happy with that. That's the sort of pace I had been completing a half in, and that was good. So I was really confident I'd get under my 5-hour mark, which I wanted to do. Being in the slower end of the marathon has many benefits. You can see the elites running past you. I mean, these are famous runners and they are fast, and there are many points in the route where you kind of hairpin, and so you're running at one bit and 10 kilometers on there running back the other way. And yeah, so I did get to catch, sort of wave to James on occasions, and on one occasion the elites all passed me, and my God, they were just flying. Because I was in the slower half, I actually quite like that. There was so much less pressure, and the camaraderie of the slower runners. There was a younger guy called Ryan, who was he and I were just kind of just egging each other on. It was awesome. It was really, really good. There was one point, probably about 4 hours into the running, where in my mind I just kind of was saying, well, this is just my life now. I just have to run. I think I decided that it was never going to come to an end. But that kind of helped. And then as the race ended at the Opera House, pretty special. So you run round from Darling Harbour to the Circular Quay, and the crowds built up as you got close to the end. And I remember I had my name on a bib, and people were yelling at my name, go Lizzie, which was really nice. And at the just as before we turned the corner into getting up to the Opera House, some lady shouted out, "You've only got 500 metres to go." And in a way that was awesome, because it really boosted me on. But then the other I was like, that's still half a kilometre, and I've been running for 41 plus kilometres. So that was had mixed feelings about hearing that. Just as you get up to the Opera House, just before the end of the race, there's a ramp that you have to run up, and that was hard. But I ran up the ramp, and then I kind of sprinted to the finishing line. I thought I sprinted, but I've seen videos later, and yeah, it was a little ugly, but there we are. So I crossed the finishing line, and I was kind of looking around for Graham or Helene or James, but I couldn't see anyone. And then some guy came and shoved a microphone in my face and started interviewing me, and I was not expecting that. I think he was sort of the MC for Blackmoors or whatever, and he was, I can't really remember what he asked me, but I know it was broadcast to all the audience. And in my head, I'd just been running to with a view to getting my medal. That was my end goal, to get that medal around my neck. And I couldn't see where we were, where any medals were, and I was panicking that they'd run out. That was so slow that they'd run out. So he sort of said, what are your thoughts? And I just sort of said, where's my medal? And he was like, you'll get your medal, anyway. It was probably not my best interview. And then I got hugs from Ryan, and I think his partner was called Cassie, and she came up and gave me hugs, and from James and from Graham and Len, and then I got my medal, and so that was kind of special. Afterwards, normally with running, I have a habit of dropping my blood pressure, and it's been a bit of a thing. Lots of theories as to why that happens. I think probably because I use this marathon as more of a sort of 5-hour plus picnic, just swapping between protein bars and electrolytes. But when I finished, I felt great. I felt not even, I was tired, my legs hurt, but I was certainly not out of breath. And I was certainly perfectly capable of walking to get my medal and my finisher's shirt and all of that, and I felt fine. It was much better than my usual ends to running and event sort of half marathons and things. I did feel that, and James said he felt the same, that it wasn't a near-death experience. I think I was thinking it was going to be a near-death experience, but it was an amazing experience. It really was, but it wasn't quite as challenging as I thought it would be. That sounds bad, but it was, a marathon has always to me been unsurmountable, and I did it. So clearly it's not unsurmountable. So that's the reason why we didn't kind of go and get our tattoos and our Lululemon outfits and things, because it was like, oh well, it was just was a fun training run, really. That's kind of how it felt. I still am super proud of what I have achieved. I have got a few things that I've learned. Well, so much I've learned from doing this run. One is don't expect when you train for a marathon that you're going to lose weight. I didn't. I probably am 3 or 4 kilos heavier than I was when I started, which is not what I'd hoped for. I think if you train keto and do low carb and the whole way, then yeah, you probably will be much leaner, and I will think about doing that. But I did low carb, but then when I did runs, I ran on high carbs, and particularly for the marathon I did, and I know it felt great, but probably it didn't help with any kind of hope of losing any weight. Whenever you see a camera on a run, on a marathon or a half marathon, whatever, smile, because those are the professional photographers who will then sell you the photos later. And I got some dreadful photos, absolutely dreadful. I look like I'm dying. We got a fantastic finisher shirt, which we wore that night went for a sort of celebratory pub meal, and when I washed it, I put it in the dryer at the Airbnb and kind of melted the some of the words on it. The kind of word, so that's a bit of a shame. So if you get a finisher's shirt, don't put it in the dryer. Yeah, and I'm a marathon runner now. So I think that I wouldn't do too many things differently. I have to say that the Nike Run Club app kept me going. I listened to music, and Coach Bennett, who's is a guided run coach on Nike Run Club, I listened to him, and I found that very comforting and encouraging. And I would recommend, not sponsored, I'd recommend them or that app for anybody learning to run. I am definitely going to do some more runs. I have got so many goals now that I want to achieve, in that I want to be faster and probably about 10 kilos lighter, so that I can achieve the sort of, I've done it now, so now it's really about improving on what I've done. The whole kind of mystique about it has gone. It's doable. Anybody, yeah, look, if you can walk, you can run, and if you can run, you can do 5k, and if you can do 5k, you can do 10k, and so on and so forth. You can do it. Literally, it is not that hard. So I finished in 5 hours and 35 minutes, which is slow. But my next goal will be to do sub 5 hours, and I'm not sure where the next marathon's. I think I'd like to do Sydney again, so I could sort of revisit. I mean, it's just an amazing course, and then I'm sort of comparing apples with apples, as it were. But maybe we'll look at doing 2 marathons next year, but no tattoos. Okay, I hope that was interesting. All right, that's my marathon experience. Bye for now.